and welcome to DATAVERSITY Talks, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers around data. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Theresa Ancick, the Data Governance Strategist at Accura Business Services.
More and more companies are considering investing in data literacy education, but still have questions about its value, purpose, and how to get the ball rolling. Introducing the newest monthly webinar series from DATAVERSITY, Elevating Enterprise Data Literacy, where we discuss the landscape of data literacy and answer your burning questions. Learn more about this new series and register for free at dataversity.net.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at DataVersity, and this is My Career in Data, a DataVersity Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to be talking with people who can help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. And today we are joined by Theresa Ancick, the Data Governance Strategist at Accura Business Services. And normally this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest, but in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. So Theresa, hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And I just want to give a shout out. Thanks for being on our recent Enterprise Data Governance Online Conference. You gave an amazing talk that everyone is still raving about.
Thank you.
Make sure if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. So tell me, you are the Data Governance Strategist at Accura Business Services. First,
Yes.
What is Accura Business Services and what is it that you do?
Accura Business Services is a data governance strategy and / consulting, but mostly strategy company that I started. I think I got a DBA back in 1996. And so I started working with companies in data warehousing early on. And I was putting together for different organizations, high performance data warehouses with a team of programmers that were skilled in SQL programming and ETL. And so I did that for a while, and then I got bored and wanted to move on. So I took a deep dive into data visualization, and I started helping people pull together their business intelligence together. And I was much deeper dive than I think is normal. And then I went into business intelligence team development, where I was putting together data operations and helping organizations really focus on their production level projects and making sure that the health and well-being and care and data quality of their data pipelines were in top health. And then came along data governance, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was like lightning and thunder, and it was just like, this is what you needed all along. So I am now fully enveloped in data governance and helping organizations create roadmaps for their policies, procedures, and bringing together all of the dimensions so that everyone can contribute to and draw from the centralized governed area and have activities that normally are not value added become highly value added and get their capacity back.
That is awesome. I love that. So before I get more into that, let's back it up a bit. And so tell me, Theresa, when you were very young, is this what you dreamt of? I'm going to specialize in data governance when I grow up and start this consulting business.
I was going to be on MTV when I was very young.
Yeah.
I am so glad that the internet was not around in those days. I waited tables for a long time. I knew that I wanted to do something in computers. In the early 90s, I worked for almost 9 years setting companies up on automating their accounting packages, because the PC came out in 1982 and there was all kinds of accounting possibilities and people were just racing towards that automation in their work environment. So I spent a good deal of time consulting just in setting up accounting and finance, which was a really great start to doing data governance. There's a lot of similarities, and but I never had to teach accounting while I was setting it up. And now I'm finding that when I'm setting up data governance, I'm actually teaching data governance at the same time. So it makes it a little bit more exciting.
Oh, that's nice. So how did you, so you just spent, this has been your career.
Yes, I've been doing this for 30 years. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me, so having worked with data for that long and almost your whole career, what what is your definition of data and how do you work with it?
Wow, what is my definition of data? I remember early on, I was working on a data project. It was a big, extensive data project, and nobody on the team was getting much sleep. And I had this dream that I was inside the application and everything was moving in blocks, and there was blue blocks and pink blocks, and they had different hues, and they were traveling through space, going to different destinations. And I was like, wow, this is data. And I was like in it. Okay, so that's a little weird. I think of data as a puzzle. I think that the wall of information that organizations are dealing with is growing higher and wider every week. And the challenge is being able to identify the bricks in the wall that are critical to the operation, and then take meticulous care of those bricks as an asset. And so being able to adapt to the growth of information that organizations are dealing with and keep them maneuverable and adaptable and consistent and curated and quality is what I find to be very exciting to me. When my nieces and nephews are young and we're at the family party and they say, Aunt Theresa, what do you do? And I tell them I get paid to do puzzles all day. Because it kind of is very similar to that. It's like, this is the puzzle and the problem and we need to solve it. So that's kind of how I think of data.
I love that. I have conversations with a lot of different people who are constantly struggling to communicate what it is they do for a living. And I love that answer. So,
But
yeah.
I told a story about my daughter. We were driving home in a car from Tennessee, and she asked me, what is data governance? And she was in a 13-hour car ride with me. Oh, that poor girl. I think she wanted to run out of the moving vehicle because, I'm so passionate about it. I started explaining to her, but on the good thing, she came home and changed her major, and she went into information technology after that and has since graduated. So couldn't have been that painful.
I love that. So, well, tell me, okay, so let's dive into that passion a little bit. So data governance was your aha moment, and that's your discovered passion.
Yeah.
A lot of what I built the agenda around is people struggling it's because we run into so many people struggling to understand what data governance is, get data governance buy-off in their company. It seems to be a dirty word. There are executives who just refuse to say data governance. They don't like the word at all. They think it's so restrictive. It sounds like it's just about policy and laws and so let me ask you what you think data governance is and why people should use it.
That's interesting. I was posed with a question this past week by leadership at an organization. And they were like, well, why should we do data governance? I mean, who's even asking for it? And why do we need it? And I responded with, why do you need finance? I mean, think about it. I can write checks without an accounting system. We can write checks and we can make deposits. So why are we spending all this money on a finance department and keeping track of our payables and receivables and things like that? And I know that that is a different, but when you put it that way, imagine if you pulled your finance department out of the company, and people have done it for years, for centuries. We didn't have debit and credit accounting, but now we do. And can you imagine not having that in your organization? But can you also imagine trying to convince an organization that doesn't have it that they need it? And then convince them of all of the debits and credits and that how the system works and the difference that it'll make for them, and regulatory, and being able to track whether they can afford to make a business decision, and what their total liabilities are compared to their assets. It's a big conversation. And so I think that what I've tried to do is hone my abilities to be able to take this complex thing and boil it down and help people understand why they need it. And sometimes putting it the way I just did can be impactful. Hopefully. Tell me what you think.
I think that is a great comparison. I've never heard it put that way, but it makes so much sense, because how do you make great business decisions with so many business decisions are made on the financials, right?
Yeah.
And what you have and what you need, and where you can reallocate those expenses. So I love that. So and explain, but tell me more about data governance and the benefits that people that companies can have from implementing great data governance.
Yeah. I think it really, there's two things that I see. When I hear the leadership saying, I don't understand why we need data governance and what is the benefits. There's a lot of things that they may not have enough transparency around in their data ecosystem. So, for instance, we have 18 adverse data events this month. Here are the adverse data events, and I'm telling you how much each event cost us. Mm-hmm. And so this event was a third-party vendor that sent the wrong data 3 days in a row. The data went through our whole system, and people consumed that data, made decisions on that data, and then we had to backtrack. Then we had to do an emergency fix in production. And then we had to do all this communication. That data event was a $27,000 data event to fix, not to mention the risk and the other things. But are the leaders aware that this even happened? Are they getting that transparency? This is why the executive council is so important, because the executive council should be aware of how many adverse data events we have, how many ETLs failed last month, how many people did it take to fix it, how many assets were impacted by that, and how many individuals were looking at those assets or wanted to look at them and had to wait to make decisions based on that. That's all costing your company money. And so if you don't have any way of providing transparency around those types of events, it's very difficult to see the need for and the benefit of data governance in your organization. Another example is just how much more lean and efficient your entire IT operation and data consumption layer is. The application upgrade upstream, now if you have lineage, we can identify all the downstream assets and make sure that they're in alignment with when they go to production. We've put our new and improved assets, and it's transparent to our customers that we just had a major upgrade and modified 17 different fields from our data consumption layer. And that is good. You can be proud of yourself with that. What in the past, that project, they would call and say, here's a list of things that are going to change, and here's the date they're going to change. And then the BI team would get the list. And then they would have to open all the all the tables and ETLs where they could find all of that. Well, we just did that for them and cut the project expense down by 25%. But they don't know that that is a benefit of this. So it's really the focus in getting the executive council to understand the health and well-being of the data ecosystem, to participate in the adverse data event and get real with the cost. Third-party data is some of the worst data I see in organizations. And so one of the techniques that I used was to bring the vendor relationship manager, and now I have a business owner at every adverse event. So as long as we were just dealing with it, and somebody in the BI team was calling somebody at the company, and then betwixt the two of them, they were getting it fixed. And this vendor was like, "Ah, so frustrating." We said, when we're frustrated, you're going to be frustrated with us. This is sucking the joy and the capacity and the morale out of the team. We need visibility so that you can see that there's a problem here. And when we got that visibility and started reporting that up, they were like, "This is unacceptable. I can't believe this has been going on for so long." So a lot of my clients, I'm working to get transparency around these events, educate the executive council on the benefits of data governance, but just explain to them how it's going to turn these non-value added things into value added things when you have data governance tools, transparency, collaboration, and you're making it available for everyone.
That's really important, just to point out there, so one of the biggest things that you do in part of data governance is communication.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it's a big component. Who are you communicating what to, on what media, how often? But it gets more complex than just pulling together a communication when we're trying to get our transparency around data events and reporting backlogs and things like that. It's communication and education and training.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the DATAVERSITY Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
So I'm trying to figure out a couple of different questions here, and there's a couple of things that I want to touch on, but let me go back to my original questions, and I'll come back to this a little bit. Do you see the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
I want to say it's a hard call because originally I saw them increasing, but I think they're going to change. Mm-hmm. I think it may level off, but I think that the style and the tools are going to change. I think that with Chat GPT and the opportunities for AI to monitor and respond, I think that with the advancement of being able to create the data quality proactively and send the quality back to the business for remediation before it breaks your downstream assets, I think those things are going to change. I think that the data stewards sitting on the business side are going to have a broader role in identifying data definitions, helping us curate the reports and things like that. So I think it's going to change. I think for a long time, data and business intelligence teams were kind of isolated. And we had the pipelines, and it was all kind of magic that we alone did. And I think that is going to expand. So although I think that the data professionals are going to be doing more and exciting, I think that the morale is going to increase because we now are very proud of what we're doing, and we don't feel like we're just trying to run roughshod across a sprint to get an asset into production that's going to break 13 times over the next month. we know those terms, we know where to find them in the business glossary, we know we've got reusable codes so we can gather it the same way it's been gathered all along. And we're confident when we put it out there, you're confident in what we're putting out there as a customer. So I think it's going to be an exciting time to be in data. And I think that some of the items in data are going to be sprawled through the organization. I think everyone's going to have a responsibility to increase their capability and responsibility to the data of the organization.
So what advice then would you give to people looking to get into a career in data management, maybe specifically data governance?
Data governance is not for the weak. There's a lot of explaining. You have to be okay with adjustment, pivoting. There is challenges with focus. There is always that data owner that's going to dip out because this isn't what they signed out for. This isn't my role. I'm over here trying to run a business. What are you talking about? You'll have the data stewards that want to put in peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly in them as definitions. And we need to be able to use a lot of different techniques to really bring the consistency and the company together in the same goal. For somebody that's new working with data, it's an exciting time. It's the tools are amazing and rich and vast, and the environments are complex. You've got Kafka streaming, you've got AWS, you've got Denodo, and then it's just so cool when you get into this robust ecosystem and you come in with data governance and start pulling all of that metadata into a single source and the benefits. So a new person coming into data, come on in. It's going to be a good time.
Very good advice. Okay, how do you keep up with the technology that's coming out? Because it's evolving pretty quickly nowadays, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I am going to say that for that, I have a large network of people. I'm in a lot of the forums online asking questions. I reach out to friends that I worked on my teams from 10 years ago. Shout out to Victor and Peter. And, we get together and we're like, hey, what's this new thing? What do you know about it? And then, the next day we call each other again and go, this is what I found out. What did you find out? And it's just been great. You find other people that are just as passionate about it and, I don't know, passionate, obsessed. But I also found in communities, especially communities like the DATAVERSITY, which I love you guys, there are so many people that are willing to take the time to help each other, to learn, point them at something, give them a document, share something that they might have it's not all about the money. So, I'd like to give the world a Coke. I'd like to get them all on data governance.
Do love that about the community. It's so that everyone is so willing to help each other out, and it is.
Absolutely.
I can't say it enough. I think I've said it in a few of these, but let me say it again. If you need help, there's so many people willing to help.
I know.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is great. So I want to come back a little bit to the data governance then. So if I were a company looking to start a data governance initiative, what would be your advice?
Okay. I call myself a strategist because sometimes when I'm working with larger companies, they've got very extensive maturity assessments that they come in that are 600 questions or more. And then they do this very, very fancy thing, and they present you with 17 to 70 page PowerPoint presentation. And that's not what I do. What I do when somebody calls me in and says, we're looking at this, what do we need? I first I'd go through five exercises. What are your drivers? Have you tried to do this before and stopped, and what stopped you? Where did we go wrong? what problems are you trying to solve, and what is your data strategy? If your strategy is that you're doing data governance because you have a data lake, that is going to look like a different roadmap than if your strategy is that you're looking at, plugging into your data warehouse or understanding your data ecosystem for privacy management. So if privacy management is your number one data strategy, then we're going to plug into that. So I really need to plug into your data strategy. Your future vision, if you don't have one, I want to help you carve something out and see, let's try this on and let's try this on. What do you think data governance is? Part of that conversation is level setting the definition of data governance, because that's where you find that one person is like, data governance is based on policies, and you enforce the policies and you publish them and you hold people accountable to the policy. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, let's take a look at our data demand layer and find out what terms are being used the most on our assets, because, we need to deliver consistency, right? So what is your flavor of data governance? I try to focus on delivering consistency. If you are using a formula, and that formula is on 27 reports, I want to make data governance help ensure that is the same calculation on all 27 reports. You'd be kind of surprised how often it's not. And it can set off some fireworks too. But being able to say we're getting it from the same place, we're handling it with quality standards, we're delivering it the same way in the most efficient way, and we're delivering the definition and understanding it consistently. That's solving the problem of data governance. Where I think posting policies and holding people accountable, that doesn't even sound like fun to me. So I don't think
it sounds fun to anyone.
I don't think I'm your girl in that case, but within that consistency and solving in confidence, you've got a team of people that are efficiently and expeditiously delivering quality data assets that you can count on, and they're proud of themselves. They're proud of the work they're producing. Their customers are happy with what they're looking at. It's just, it's like transformative.
And it sounds, based on your previous example, that saves the company money.
It absolutely does. And that's one of the conversations that I continue to hone. I'm getting pretty good at it. Always room to grow, because there is a large portion of the audience that thinks that data governance is an expense. And so I think it was Laura Madison that told me, when you send a rocket off to the moon, the first payload is the largest amount of fuel. It's that first. So you've got to be able to get that first payload. Is there an expense? Yes. It's kind of like putting solar panels on your house. Yeah, those solar panels aren't cheap, but boy, do they pay off.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
Theresa, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and solicit your services, how do they get in touch with you?
I can be found on LinkedIn. Also, Accura Business Services, ACCURA Business Services, and call Shannon and Natalie.
Indeed.
Go to your local DATAVERSITY event. See if I'm talking.
I love it. Well, Theresa, this has been fantastic as always. I love your passion around this topic. It always comes through.
Thanks.
It's just, and passion is so important for these things. So again, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. And for all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up on the latest podcasts and in the latest in data management education, you go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time. Thank you for listening to DATAVERSITY Talks, brought to you by DATAVERSITY. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational articles, blogs, and webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.